Hello, travelers. Recently, we've got some exciting new changes in the upcoming banners. Today, we're going to discuss all the changes you can expect, as well as the updated banner roadmap from version 5.2 to 5.6. So, if you're curious about the new characters you might want to pull in the future and want to save your Primogems ahead of time for your favorite character, then you've landed on the perfect video. I've also included chapters below, so you can easily find what you're looking for without having to go through all of my excessive yapping. Now, without wasting any more time, let's dive into the banner lineup. Starting off with version 5.2. As many of you already know, we're getting two new characters in the first phase that are Chaska and Oro-Rown. As for Chaska, she's an Anemo 5-star bow character with a playstyle where she can change her elements into cryo, electro, pyro, and hydro, and can deal damage based on swirling reactions. Her own damage is kind of low, but as soon as her bullets get the infusion from different elements present in her party, she deals massive damage based on swirling reactions. Aside from that, she can also fly on something like a huge cannon or gun. Also, not to mention that we're getting a buff to all 4 of the elemental reactions, which include Superconduct, Shatter, Electro-Charged, and Overload. That's the reason why Chaska deals way more damage, even though her own damage is kind of low. Anyway, leaving that aside, the other character we're getting with Chaska is Oro-Rown, a 4-star tall electro bow user, which is expected to be a main DPS rather than a support character. Now let's discuss the potential reruns in the first phase of version 5.2. We can expect Chaska along with Oro-Rown as a 4-star, with Linny joining as the rerun candidate for the first phase. In the second phase, we're expected to see Zhongli as the Archon rerun. For a while, it was speculated that Wanderer might rerun since he's going to be the main highlight of the flagship event in version 5.2. But recently, a reliable source, Fowl, suggested that the flagship event of 5.2 is expected to happen in Natlan, and chances are that we might not see Wanderer here, so Neuvillette is confirmed to have his rerun here. So, if we gather all the info, we can expect Chaska and Linny in the first phase, followed by Neuvillette and Zhongli in the second. This lineup has been confirmed by several reliable sources, so there's a good chance we'll see the same results in the livestream too. Also, we have some good and bad news related to 5.2. The good news is that we're getting an Archon Quest in 5.2. Now, if you remember, the devs themselves mentioned we wouldn't be seeing an Archon Quest this patch, but with the sheer amount of content in 5.2, I guess it makes sense to fit one in here. The bad news, though, is that we won't be getting the bonus 500 Primogems with a 5.2 Archon Quest, as the devs announced that the reward would only apply in versions 5.0, 5.1, and 5.3. Now let's talk about the new characters we can expect in patch 5.3. In 5.3, we're expected to see 2 new 5-star characters, Mauvika and Citlali. As for their kit details, I discussed them in my previous video, but I'll say it again. For Mauvika, it seems that she's a 5-star version of Dea and Shangling. Mauvika's elemental skill has 2 versions. When you press or tap her elemental skill, she summons a pyro cannon that deals off-field pyro damage and shoots fireballs toward enemies, similar to other off-field pyro characters like Shangling. But if you hold her elemental skill instead of pressing it, she gets pyro infusion and deals pyro-based damage as a main DPS, like Arlecchino and Dea. So by pressing or tapping her skill, she can be a support, and by holding it, she becomes a DPS. As for her burst, it is said that she can provide consistent off-field damage while buffing the team and giving interruption resistance. Also, there's a basic attribute boost, making everyone on the team glitter with rainbows as Mauvika uses her elemental burst. As for her exploration mechanics and abilities, it is said that upon holding her elemental skill, her weapon crushes into pieces and turns into a motorcycle as part of her exploration ability. On top of that, she can jump on the motorcycle like Katina and Xilanen, and it changes into a glider when she's in the air, similar to Chaska's gun. She can even run on water and do hookshots like Kenich. So, in general, she seems to have all the abilities of every character from Natlan. Doesn't that sound a bit fishy? At first, I was a bit salty about Mauvika's motorbike, but after seeing Chaska's flying cannon or gun, I wouldn't be surprised if Mauvika's exploration ability really does turn out to be a motorbike. And if it does turn out to be true, I swear every F2P player will have to switch to Dolphin mode to get her. Seriously, Hoyoverse is making it harder day by day, releasing so many power creeps at once. Now, some of you are asking about Mauvika's constellations. Well, here it is. According to reliable sources, it's said that Mauvika is going to play a sub-DPS or DPS role. Similar to Raiden Shogun, at her C2 and C4 constellations, she will lean more toward a supportive role and is said to have incredible synergy with the Traveler. As we know, the Traveler is also set to debut in version 5.3, but what we do know for sure is that she's going to be the next strongest Pyro character with a powerful kit. Now let's talk about Citlali. The only thing we know is that she'll be a Cryo Catalyst character who has shielding capabilities and can deal off field damage like Ganyu and Layla. Also, a reliable source, Home DG Cat, mentioned that Hoyoverse might be testing a specific team that includes Mauvika, Citlali, and the Traveler. However, previous leaks suggested that Citlali might end up on the standard banner, just like Dea. But now, I don't think that will happen, especially considering that they're testing her out alongside Mauvika. So, we can only assume that she will serve as a support for Mauvika. Next, let's discuss the potential reruns we can expect in patch 5.3. In Phase 1, we're confirmed to get Mauvika. As for the rerun candidate, it said we'll see either Xianyun or Arlecchino alongside Mauvika, though I'm leaning more towards Arlecchino because we all know how Hoyoverse likes to screw us by releasing top-tier characters back-to-back. Like if you remember, before Arlecchino's first banner, they gave Nuvlet, making it tougher for players to decide who to pull for. So I guess we'll go with Arlecchino. As for the second phase, we can expect Citlali, followed by Child, Coco Fish, or Shenhe as the rerun candidate in 5.3. Also, we're expected to see the return of the Chronicle Wish banner in 5.3. At first, when I heard this, I couldn't believe it, because obviously, how can Hoyoverse put so many things in one patch? I speculated that instead of 5.3, the Chronicle Wish would be in 5.2. But with the sheer amount of content coming in 5.2, I think 5.3 suits the Chronicle Wish best. Plus, reliable sources suggest that this time the Chronicle Wish banner will be Leeway themed, featuring all the 5-star Leeway characters. Now, moving on to the new characters in version 5.4. In the first phase of 5.4, we're expected to see Madame Ping, also known by her Adeptus name, Streetward Rambler, as a new playable character. As for her kit, at first, it was said that she'd be a 5-star Hydro user, but some other sources suggest she might be an Anemo user with a playstyle based on plunging like our little Xiao. Personally, I think it's still early, and this is highly subject to change, so stay skeptical. As for the rerun candidate joining Madame Ping, it's said to be either Milani or Yellen. I think that Yellen might get her rerun, as some sources suggest she's also getting a new skin in the upcoming patches of Natlin. In the second phase of version 5.4, it said we'll see Riotsley as the rerun candidate. But still, if Hoyo don't let cryo characters leave their basement, then I speculate it's definitely going to be Chlorine or any other character from Fontaine. As for the Archon, we can expect Farina as the Archon rerun. In this patch, also I've seen a lot of people mentioning Ventis might return in 5.4, but honestly, that doesn't make much sense to me. Since 5.5 will feature the flagship event in Mondstadt, it feels much more likely that Venti's rerun will happen then. Now, let's move on to version 5.5. Starting off with the new characters, it's said that we'll see 2 new 5 stars in 5.5, most likely Ianson and Mizuki. As for Ianson, we don't really have enough information on her, but it said she'll be a mid-tier character and will get a ticket to the standard banner alongside Citlali. For Mizuki, we've been getting info on her from the Fontaine arc, but she hasn't shown up yet. Recent sources suggest that she'll be an Electro 5-star Catalyst character. Also, another character anticipated to release here is said to be Aoife. Now, let's discuss the potential reruns we can expect in 5.5. For the rerun candidates, we can see either Coco Fish or Siege Wayne. And for the Archon rerun, Venti seemed to fit best here, as the flagship event of 5.5 is expected to happen in Mondstadt. We're also expected to see a huge map expansion from Mondstadt, most likely to be the Dorman port. So, if we gather all the information, we can expect Iansson as the new character, followed by either Kokomi or Siege Wayne. In the second phase, we can likely see Venti as the Archon Rerun, followed by Mizuki, also known as the Goth Girl, as the new 5-star character. Moving on to 5.6, we don't have much information yet, so this is largely based on my own speculation. For the new character, I personally think we might see a playable Harbinger somewhere between 5.6 and 5.8. My best guess is that it's likely going to be Capitano or maybe even Colombina. So that's all the latest banner info we have right now. Let me know in the comments which character you're most excited for and want to pull in the upcoming versions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.